We continue with that theme of economic impact in our second segment with Andy Davis, who is the director of Worcester Regional Airport. Welcome, Andy.
Thanks for having me.
Well, Andy, just about 6 years ago this time, Governor Patrick, through some of the work that we were able to do, actual transfer of Worcester Regional Airport took place from the city of Worcester. MassPort purchased that for $15 million, and you were involved in that, having run the airport when the city of Worcester was in charge, and now MassPort has taken ownership. So you can give a great perspective of the progress that's been made to date.
As a matter of fact, it's been excellent progress. As you know, when the city owned the airport, MassPort, even though we were operating it, could not make the capital investments in the facility, in the airfield. And since then, and probably for the next 5 years, we have planned a total of about $90 million of capital investment to keep the airport modern, keep a safe airport safer, and to help have the infrastructure that much more attractive for more business, more activity at the airport, both on the commercial side and general aviation.
And I think, really the catalyst for that transfer of ownership taking place was important for a couple of reasons. As you mentioned, MassPort was prohibited under its enabling legislation from making capital investments into the airport, which are needed in any facility. Secondly, MassPort having the incentive to use their expertise and relationships with the airline industry to make Worcester successful. And we've seen since 2010 steady progress, incremental progress, not as fast as any of us would like, but one of the major things that has taken place is the presence of JetBlue.
Right. JetBlue was fantastic to decide to fly out of Worcester in November of 2012. We're in our third year with them, and we're closing in on 300,000 customers. And that's a very important note to make. With just 2 flights a day to Orlando and Fort Lauderdale, what we need to do is demonstrate that the region will support commercial aviation. And by having 300,000 customers and high 80% load factor being the percent of seats on board that are filled on board an airplane, it brings notice to the airport and has heads turning from the industry to say, if there is that kind of support, maybe we should seriously consider service out of Worcester too.
Yeah, so almost 300,000 people in less than 3 years. You've got load factors that are 80, high 80s, as you said, and that sends a message. And the one thing we've heard repeatedly, and I'm sure you even more so because you interact with those customers every day, is the convenience of Worcester Airport.
Right.
People don't have to travel to whether it be Manchester or Providence or Logan, the parking affordability, and just, an airport visit can be stressful.
Sure.
At Worcester Regional Airport, you literally can park and walk and be, 150 yards in a much less intense environment, but with all the security and features of any modern airport.
That's one of the biggest attractions that I hear from the people that use the airport. Obviously, the bulk of the customers are coming from the immediate community in Worcester and surrounding communities, but you'll be one to testify. You were talking to the 50,000th customer that came in from Littleton, I believe.
Westford, yeah.
And it's just the note that it is a low-cost, convenient option for air travel. Let's face it, air travel in today's world is stressful. We're getting news reports on the TSA, long lines with the high summer demand. More and more people are traveling. So with Worcester having the amount of activity we have here, it makes that much more of an attractive, convenient, let's almost say casual environment when people come to this airport. And that continues to be the hallmark of the airport to make it that much more attractive.
And one of the things which is going to not only benefit JetBlue and potential maybe them expanding flights, but also help MassPort in its efforts in bringing more airlines to Worcester Regional Airport is the Category 3 instrument landing system. Congressman McGovern was successful in bringing then Secretary of Transportation Ray LaHood to Worcester. He made a commitment publicly that if MassPort and the board purchased a new Category 3 instrument landing system, the FAA would fund it. That moved forward, and that's a significant investment.
I sure did. That's a great story because for the longest time, we were looking for the FAA support in making that investment into the airport. And it was really one of those chicken and egg theories where the FAA, doing a cost-benefit analysis, does not see the demand, the current demand, for more navigation systems like the Cat-3 landing system. And that's where MassPort stepped up and said, well, if we make the investment, will you take over the maintenance and the operation of it? Because we're not in the business of maintaining landing systems. And that was a deal that was struck basically in the conference room with then Secretary LaHood. And it's been fun to see that progressing, going through the permitting process, which was a great cooperative effort with not just the state and federal entities, but Worcester, the town of Leicester, which the airport's half located in, through all the permitting processes. That was actually able to be sped up. So our original 7-year timeline is now condensed to 5 years, and we see the Cat-3 system up and operational by the end of 2017.
Yeah, 2017, and just for our viewers, the Category 3 Instrument Landing System, or Cat-3, basically is the most modern guide for planes to land. So this idea of, we've heard from time to time about fog or issues, weather issues impacting Worcester Airport. This would significantly eliminate a majority of those cancellations.
It would virtually eliminate it. Our current system allows a Cat-1, allows a plane to land with 1,800 feet of horizontal visibility, basically a third of a mile, and be able to break through the clouds at 200 feet above the ground. This new system will allow an airplane to stay on the final approach and land with a 50-foot ceiling and as little as 600 feet horizontal visibility. In basic terms, that's pea soup fog, and the plane will still be able to land.
Yeah, and computer navigation systems, the whole thing, it really is pretty neat. Somebody showed me online a Cat-3 landing on
cool.
Google it, and it was pretty neat to be able to see that. And Worcester Regional Airport will have the same landing Category 3 as all the major airports across the country.
That's right.
Right. Another piece that's happening, we may have to talk a little bit about this in our final segment. In addition to MassPort's work with the JetBlue, with the Cat-3 instrument landing system, Rectrix Aviation, a new fixed base operator, investment in the hangar. Maybe we could just start our viewers. What is Rectrix?
Rectrix is a fixed-based operator. They're actually Massachusetts homegrown. They've been in the business for 14, going on 15 years now. And they're based out of Hanscom Airport. They have operations in Westfield, Worcester, and Hyannis. And they're now the largest aviation company in Massachusetts, and they're growing. They're award-winning. They give what I call white glove and red carpet treatment to everybody from the basic general aviation private pilot owner to the large corporate jets that come in and visit. And that's important because that is a first impression for business travelers coming into Worcester that have never been here before. It's a fantastic venue they have, a 27,000 square foot facility. The hangar can hold the largest corporate jets in today's fleet. And the customer service area and the cruise lounge is first class.
Rectrix Aviation's present and then nearly $6 million investment in Worcester Regional Airport is a perfect example of why MassPort taking ownership of Worcester Regional Airport was so vital. They're in the aviation industry. MassPort is in the transportation aviation industry. They have those relationships. And one of the relationships that MassPort had was with Rectrix Aviation, which was present at Hanscom. And when MassPort put out requests for proposals for fixed base operators both at Hanscom, renewing the contract in Worcester, they did that in tandem.
Right. And that was a great opportunity for Rectrix because they see a future in aviation. They see a future in Massachusetts, and they see a future in Worcester. Similar to Boston, where there's limitations with the Logan Airport being surrounded on 3 sides of the airport, expansion opportunities are very limited for commercial aviation. Similar in Hanscom, they're constrained also. They're surrounded by Minuteman National Park. So Hanscom is a very popular corporate jet operation, and Rectrix seizing on the opportunity to develop there, saw that the limitations there and sees the general aviation component growing in the future, and they look to the west and saw Worcester as a natural fit for them. As I mentioned earlier, they're a growing company. They're only 14, 15 years young, and as they see the business grow in Massachusetts, they see the general aviation component growing just like the opportunities for commercial at Worcester.
Right, and we know, a business of any size, time is money. And so certainly for mid or larger size companies, that transportation and sometimes corporate travel is a part of that. Being stuck in congestion and traffic in the greater Boston area or on 495, Worcester provides a very attractive location for kind of those 495 or even 128 communities potentially as well to use Worcester Regional Airport on the corporate side.
Exactly. For the major corporations that are on the 128 and 495 Beltway, they have the option. They can look to the left on the Mass Turnpike or look to the east, and it's pretty much equidistant between the two. But look at the difference when you head west, lower tolls, heck of a lot less congestion, and in all respect, the airport's easy to get to. There are 6 different ways to get to the airport.
And it's mentioned. You mentioned when we had the event acknowledging the 50,000 passenger coming to Worcester with JetBlue, and now we're approaching 300,000 less than 3 years later. As I mentioned, was a young woman with her young kids who was visiting, fairly frequently her parents down in Florida, and I asked her the question. I said, "How did you get to Worcester Airport?" Curious at what route she took. She said, "I don't know. I just did what the GPS told me." And it's amazing how technology has changed a lot of that conversation, and that's important because we want to make sure people understand that it's much easier than maybe the urban legend that's out there, and signage, and now with technology, much easier and a much more convenient route.
Right, and speaking of signage, we embarked on a major program with the city, Worcester, surrounding communities, and the state. And if you went through Worcester and surrounding communities, you saw different generations and styles of airport directional signs. We worked with the entities and removed the vast majority of those signs and replaced them with a standard looking sign. So, and we identified the 6 primary routes from around the compass to give signage opportunities to support the GPS, as you mentioned, as if anything for reassurance that folks are on the right track. And at the end of the project, I believe we put about 135 signs on there, and one of which was the Mass Pike signs that give the best routes to the airport.
Right. And speaking of Rectrix, a $6 million investment in a brand new hangar, new fixed base operating facility. The Chamber, we're going to be hosting our June quarterly breakfast club there, and invite the public. If you're interested in attending, please call us at the Chamber or go on our website. But an opportunity to see this brand new hangar, perhaps some of the planes. We're going to have the Secretary of Transportation as the keynote speaker, Stephanie Pollock. So underscoring the importance of regional transportation and the economic impact. Worcester Regional Airport, the trains, May 23rd, nonstop train service beginning to 21 plus trains daily between Worcester and Boston, growing transit system. So it's a big opportunity to showcase transportation success in the region, including Worcester Regional Airport.
Rich Cowley, the Rectrix CEO, is extremely excited for the event. He wants to show off his place. The hangar has just been finished with the floor epoxy. And forget the silverware and the chinaware, you can eat off the floor. It is absolutely gorgeous, and they keep it so well maintained. When people will walk into that facility, particularly those that experienced the previous FBO, and let's face it, an aged, road-worn facility, they'll notice that this is a facility that people will want to fly into and will have that awe factor, which is the first impression that they will have with Worcester. Yeah,
first class, almost like a 5-star hotel walking in there. All of this, Rectrix, JetBlue, the investments, jobs. Airports are economic engines, and we have seen several different studies by the Mass Aeronautics Division of MassDOT. MassPort had commissioned a study a few years ago talking about the multi-million-dollar economic impact, the jobs that are created, direct and indirect. You've had a chance to work in the airline industry, a number of different places, American Airlines, different airports across the country. What does that mean in terms of job creation and economic impact?
Well, if you think about jobs, you think about the people that work at the airport, the tower folks, the JetBlue employees, the TSA employees, and that adds to the count. But that's approximately 100 to 120 employees at any given time. The MassDOT study, which was also sponsored by the FAA just 2 years ago, did a snapshot of all the airports in Massachusetts, and Worcester's numbers came back that the airport contributes to 358 jobs currently. Not just at the airport, but around the airport, the gas stations, the hotels, the Dunkin' Donuts at the bottom of the hill in Tatnick, that are generating work for the users of the airport. That equates to a little over $14 million in payroll salaries. That is money that's going into the economy. And as a whole, in a given year, the economic impact of Worcester Regional Airport to the region, to the community, is $46 million. Yeah. So we get the money moving. And that is a perfect example of the economic engine of a community and the need for an airport.
And it brings people into Worcester and into the region that maybe would not otherwise, or maybe have a perception of Worcester that, maybe they just got through elements of the Boston media, which is, we have a snowstorm or something happens that is not always positive. And I just use again that example of the woman who was the 50,000th passenger with her 2 young kids. She said, as a result of her travels to Worcester Airport, her and her husband now on occasion come into Worcester, and she talked about a Shrewsbury Street restaurant that had become their favorite. So there's an intangible benefit in terms of people coming into the city, seeing things into the region that they haven't otherwise seen, and then the economic impact, spending money, supporting local businesses, which is important. And
another example of that is you never know when you have the opportunity for corporate and charter jets, commercial charters coming in. And one example is the Holy Cross team that made it to the national championships. They were able to fly in and out with a jet. We had companies coming in with the large corporate jets that would have otherwise probably done business at one of the larger airports had Worcester not had an airport that could accommodate airplanes that size.
Right, and as you said, those figures that you just gave were based on present figures, not growth. So as the airport grows, the economic impact grows as well. Right. Well, Andy Davis, I want to thank you for being with us, and we're going to have you back again soon, and want to thank the MassPort team